Good morning and good evening. Welcome back to For the Lonely Nights. I'm Paul Kim, and thank you for joining once again for another episode of this podcast series. It's a beautiful day today, perfect weather to, talk about some great stuff. And before we get started, I hope you guys enjoyed last week's special, edition of the podcast series. Where we had a first ever guest. I was, kind of going through it again and reviewing it and reflecting upon it and, just working out some changes for the futures to make things more smoother if we do have other people join us. That's kind of my hope, is that this wouldn't just be me talking, but more like a discussion with other people as well. So it was a great start, I thought, and hopefully it just gets better from there. But this week we're going to be back to our normal, format. It's just going to be me. Bummer, I know, but, we got some good stuff to talk about here today. And so, let's get started. Let's jump right into it. So, for the first topic of discussion, we're going to bring back one of our old favorites, and it's for the feature nights. Again, we're going to be talking about some movies that I watched recently, some films, and these were some great films, honestly. And the first one I want to talk about that kind of started it all is another Korean movie, and this one, it came out in 2018, and it's called The Witch, Part 1, The Subversion. And, going into this one, same as, most movies, I feel like I really didn't have much expectations because I really didn't know what the movie was about. But honestly, it was such an interesting movie. It was very entertaining for sure. But I think just more than the entertainment factor, the movie, like the most appealing part about the movie was just the concept and the idea that it was formed around, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But just watching this movie, and I was just kind of thinking upon it, I realized that there's other movies made here in the U.S., American movies and Hollywood movies, that kind of reflect the same idea and same kind of concept that this movie, The Witch, was building upon too. And that concept in of itself is kind of around genetic modification, messing with your genomes to unlock some sort of supernatural potential or superhuman power. And so, that's just what the basis of this movie was about. Like I said, I'm not trying to spoil it too much. If you guys want to check it out, I definitely recommend it. But just kind of like the basis of the movie is it's just centered around this one girl, and it seems like this girl is just very normal, average girl, just living on a farm, with an average family. But, some supernatural stuff start happening around her. She notices that some strange people are targeting her and things like that. And her whole world goes upside down. And pretty much, the basis of the movie is that, this character herself and those who are hunting her, they all possess some sort of supernatural power because as children they were kind of experimented on by these scientists, and they messing with their genomes a bit, they unlocked different powers, and pretty much made them into these weapons, these superpower weapons that they can use to kill people or whatever it is. And that's just kind of what the whole movie is based upon. And like I said again, I recommend you watch this movie to find out what happens. It's honestly such an entertaining movie. But this sounds very familiar, this whole concept. And I was thinking that too, and I realized there's definitely other movies that kind of center around this thing. the few that I could think of off the top of my head right now would be Lucy, the movie starring Scarlett Johansson. That movie, the whole movie is based on, Lucy, that the main character, unlocking just the more, I guess, the full potential of what our brain is capable of. And then, because of that, she has these powers that, regular, ordinary human beings do not possess. And another movie, that I saw just a couple days ago, actually, that actually speaks more accurately, to this whole genetic thing it's called Project Power. It literally just came out a couple months back, or not even a couple months back. It came out a couple weeks ago. It's a Netflix movie, so it's on Netflix, and it's starring Jamie Foxx. And this movie, like I said, without spoiling it too much, basically the same idea. Um, this company figured out how to unlock just certain genetics, sleeping genetic DNA, powers or whatever inside the human body that allows us to gain a certain animalistic power, for 5 minutes. So they have these little pills that if you take it for 5 minutes, you can have a superpower, pretty much, that mimics a trait found in nature. So, for example, one of the powers was thermoregulation. So that's, animals have the ability to thermoregulate themselves, to make their bodies cooler, hotter, depending on the weather that they're in. And that's one of the powers, in the movie, is that once you take the pill for 5 minutes, you can be on fire, or you can turn into ice, and like freeze stuff up. And every person has a different ability, a different power, but at the same time, there's a huge risk to taking this pill. And it's that, there's a chance that you can unlock your power for those 5 minutes, but there's also a chance that, you can things can go wrong, and you can pretty much die or explode, or whatever happens to you, melt, or whatever it is. So it's definitely a high risk, high reward kind of thing. And the movie Project Power is kind of centered around that as well, and how society kind of reacts with that kind of potential and power, now being mass marketed. But yeah, all of these movies, they're great movies, but I think definitely more than the action and more than the story in and of itself, just the idea and concept that they're built upon, I think is just definitely the most interesting and appealing aspect. And that kind of gets me to wonder too. I'm sure we see these things on the big screen now, and these are still kind of in the realm of sci-fi and fantasy. But with just looking around and seeing how quickly technology is evolving and being on this exponential growth, it's only a matter of time before these things become a reality. These things become a common part of our society, and maybe not exactly like this. Maybe when we don't have like telekinesis and like the ability to make stuff explode at will. Definitely not at that length, I'm sure, but to some extent we'll be able to mess around and modify our genetics, our genomes, and make certain traits, I guess, stronger, more appealing traits. We can definitely have those come out more, or maybe some traits that are not as favorable, can just cover those up, things like that. And there's a lot of movies that kind of cover this too, like Gattaca, things like that. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting thought, and I'm sure we're not that far away from it either. Thinking back 10 years ago, like, who would have thought the world would become what it is right now? 10 years ago, I'm sure, like, iTouch, the iPod touches were like the biggest thing. And or maybe that was a little further than 10 years ago. I'm not sure, but I remember, like having a touch screen phone or a touch screen iPod was like the biggest thing, was so revolutionary. And now, that's like the basic thing, like having a touch screen any device is pretty much like the foundation, the fundamental thing. And now they're building upon, having foldable touchscreen phones, or you know interactable things. It's crazy how fast technology grows. And and with more technology we have, even faster, it evolves. And so, like I said, exponential growth. And I'm sure, I want in 10 more years, we're gonna have crazy stuff. um Maybe flying cars, who knows. And maybe, the you know the ability to unlock superhuman potential, or at least be able to uh choose if you want to grow a little taller, or if you um I don't know, want wanna look like some celebrity. You can mess with your, I guess, facial structure. I'm not sure if that's how DNA works, but I'm definitely excited to see um where this all goes. At the same time, I know a lot of people are very skeptical and kind of wary and scared, that once this kind of technology, once this kind of power does, eventually come to exist, it can be a very dangerous thing as well. And I do agree with that. I think that's what, these movies are kind of also speaking to as well, as because these things do exist in these movies. That's where all these problems and all this greed and killing and all this chaos kind of comes through. um and so, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But honestly, going back to the movies, great movie, especially The Witch Part One. I definitely recommend you guys check it out and watch it. It actually features the star of the show is Kim Ta-mi, if you guys know. And she is like the one of the lead female characters in Itaewon Class. I know that drama recently, it took off like crazy. So yeah, if you don't want to watch it for the interesting genetic stuff, at least watch it because we got a pretty famous actress here in this movie, I guess. And I can't wait for part two to come out. Part one ended off on a pretty on a pretty massive cliffhanger. So definitely excited to see where part two takes us. But yeah, like I said, big movie geek here. So yeah, always glad to be talking about great films on here. But yeah, moving on to our second topic of discussion here. And this one's still very casual, I think. This is just a fleeting thought I had earlier this week. And I was actually eating dinner with my family, and I like one of the dishes, the side dishes that my mom has prepared for us was this dish called yubu choba. So it's like a Korean, I guess, dish. It's very similar to, I guess, sushi. There's this I guess wrap. I'm not sure what exactly it's made out of, but it's very sweet, and you get rice. You can mix some, I guess, like meat in it if you want, some vegetables, some sesame seeds, whatever it is, and then you just put it in the wrap. And that's just pretty much it. It's like uh, it's very similar to, like I said, sushi or things like that, nigiris and things like that. But yeah, I was eating it, and it was good. And that's what made me kind of stop for a second. I'm like, wait a minute, like, why am I enjoying this? Because for the longest time, I'm sure my whole life, I really did not like yubu chobab. Like my whole family loves it, so that's why we have it pretty often. But I never really was a big fan of it, and so I would kind of avoid it if I could, if it was there as one of the side dishes, that Mama Kim has prepared. Then I would just kind of my chopsticks would go to every other side dish except that. And I never told Mama Kim or my family that I don't like it, just out of respect. um but yeah, and I was just kind of thinking, I'm like, dang, when did I start liking this thing? And that kind of got me to think about other type of other foods that um I didn't like at first, but somehow after just trying them over and over again, became have become to like them. And I think there's definitely a whole list. And you know just the some that I could think, right now on the spot, like mushrooms. I used to hate mushrooms, but now they're not bad. They're pretty good, honestly. Like if there was like mushrooms in like a jjigae, like a soup, or maybe we go to like a barbecue and like they were roasting some mushrooms, like um I would go out of my way to get those, on my plate, because I'm like, dang, this is good. But I used to hate mushrooms all my life. And avocados is another one. Like I remember when I was a kid, my mom would try to feed me avocados because she said this is, it's like it's good for you. Um, and like she would try to feed me like the raw avocados, and um, like I remember I like would try it, and every time I would like almost throw up because it was so slimy. Like the texture was so weird, and I didn't know what I was eating, and it kind of tasted bad. Um, but now like avocados are such a delicacy, like you go to Subway or whatever, and when they're making your sub, you spot the avocado right there, you want it, but it's like an extra dollar 50 or whatever. It's like an extra $2 to put it on, so you have to kind of quietly resist. um but yeah, like now, like avocados to me at least are um like treat yourself kind of snack, or meals, um and it's crazy, like I said, like I don't know how all of these things that I started off hating, I don't know how I came to kind of liking them, and even some even loving them, um and I think definitely has to do with just kind of trying it over and over again. um Even if you don't like them, just kind of forcing yourself to get used to it, forcing yourself to kind of um yeah, just try it over and over again until maybe one day, you actually uh begin to enjoy it. And I think that's definitely a very inspirational thing that you could apply to not only food but other parts of life. But just right now in food in general, um it definitely is pretty crazy. And I honestly, like, right now I have other foods that I'm currently in the process of doing that. I'm not fully at the point where I enjoy them now, but I'm not at the point where I kind of hate them either. Things like udon. I i never really liked udon. I know everybody loves it. When I was living in LA, there was a place called Marugame, and like that spot was popping. Everyone would want to go there. It's this big udon place, and yeah, like every time my friends would be like, "Oh, let's go to Marugame," I'd be like, "Oh my god, like I do not like this place. Like, why are the noodles so thick? Like why are they so hard to chew? They don't even have that much of a flavor to them." But yeah, I mean, udon, I'm definitely still in the process of getting used to. It's definitely not as bad as before. Um, I think another one is tteokbokki, and I know all the Koreans are like, "Whoa, like what the heck?" Like tteokbokki is like a classic. It's a staple. If you don't like it, then you're not Korean, kind of thing. And yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, but it's not like the sauce or anything in of itself, or things like that. I think it's just mainly the duck, in the tteokbokki, like the rice cakes. And um yeah, I don't know why. Like whenever I do get tteokbokki, I always kind of tend to avoid the rice cakes and just kind of go for the fish cake, you know, the odeng or other things. But you know, I always kind of ask for, hey, can I get less rice cake or you know things like that. And whenever um my mom and Kim would be like, hey, you want a late night snack? Like we're all hungry. I'll fix you guys something up. I'll make you guys some good tteokbokki. You know, um, like I never was really too excited to hear that. You know, I know I'm being ungrateful for sure. Like I said, you know, I always ate what was given in front of me. But at the same time, you know, inside I'm like, dang, dude, like I really don't want tteokbokki because that's not something I'm like excited to eat. That, but you know, it's getting better. Like I said, still in the process. Um, I think, dude, recently, the other day I had tteokbokki and I don't know why. I wasn't even enjoying it, you know, like really enjoying it then, but I just kind of ate all of the duck like by myself. There was so much, and I just kind of ate it all. Um, you know, and like I said, I wasn't like eating it because it tasted really good. It's just kind of, I was okay with it, and so I think that's a big progress in of itself. I'm sure, one day I'll end up really loving it, but that's just how it is, you know. And so you know, keep working at stuff. That's just I guess kind of what I got from this. What I tell myself, I just keep working at it. Even if it doesn't work out, if you don't like it at first, I'm sure it'll come around and work out eventually. So yeah, that's that. And the third thing, you know, right here, is actually honestly, I'm the most excited to talk about this one, just because it was such a foreign concept to me, um, but dang, like it really caught my attention, and um, you know, I think one of my biggest regrets, you know, kind of so far in these podcast series is that I think a lot of the topics have been just very casual, very lighthearted. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, of course. I don't think it is. At the same time, you know, I definitely want to cover some heavier stuff, and and you know things that I kind of need to research more about and kind of spend more time on. And I think this is definitely kind of getting there to that point. This topic right here, and it's on the topic of prostration. More specifically, the Tibetan prostration, and what that is. If you're not familiar with it, is pretty much in Tibet. You know, prostration is like a common religious practice. You know, and I have you know this little short excerpt pulled up to kind of explain what it is. So let me read it for you before we get started here. It says, "What is prostration? Prostration is performed by dropping the body forward and stretching it full length on the floor with arms outstretched. Then bring the hands together and place them on the crown of the head, then to the mouth, and then heart. Tibetan pilgrims often, you know, progress by prostrating themselves fully at each step, then moving forward as they get up in such a way that they have lain face down on each part of their route. Every 3 paces involve a full prostration." And you know, it goes on to explain a little bit about more about that. And it says, "You will see a lot of local Tibetans and pilgrims performing prostrations in front of Jokhang Temple and around holy mountains such as Mount Kailash, which takes about 4 weeks to complete the 52-kilometer circuit. And pilgrims from Amdo and Kham will prostrate all the way to their home to Lhasa, sometimes a distance of over 2,000 kilometers, the process taking up to 2 years to complete." So yeah, this is what I saw. It was, earlier in the week, I saw a documentary about this Tibetan prostration, and it definitely was one of those things where you're just like, yo, I can't believe that this exists. You know, it's crazy what these people do. You know, for their religion right here. If you guys didn't, you know, kind of get a picture of the description that I read just now, pretty much, this is something that everyone has to do at least once in their lifetime, and pretty much for a distance of 2,000 kilometers, over 2,000 kilometers. They have to make this trip, and you know, on foot, And every 3 steps, they have to pretty much do an upgraded burpee. They have to go down, get down on the floor, stretch out their arms so they're pretty much all stretched out on the floor, and then, like I said, bring the hands together, place them on the top of the head, um, and then they get back up, do the same thing, top of the head to the mouth to the heart. They walk 3 steps, 3 small steps too. They're not like leaps or anything. They're not trying to cheat. It's 3 small steps. Do it again, and they have to do that for the whole 2,000 kilometers. And if you guys don't know how far 2,000 kilometers is, it's roughly around 1,300 miles, I believe, if I'm correct. And I think I searched this up, and it was pretty much from here, San Diego, let's say, from the west side all the way to a little over halfway across the U.S. And so imagine that, you have to walk. Even walking that distance in and of itself is such a huge task, and like that in of itself would take months and months, I'm sure, maybe years. But imagine having to do all that while every 3 steps you have to do a full prostration, a full upgraded burpee. And these people, for like, to them, this is kind of like that sacred religious practice, and so it's not, they take it very seriously. So I'm sure along the way, like, nobody's really looking at you, so you can cheat if you want. You don't even have to bow. You can just do every 5 steps, every 10 steps you do a bow, a prostration. But these people, it's like, it's their religion. They take it very seriously. It's like, for me personally, Christianity, praying or giving an offering, we're told not to do it where eyes can see, not to do it when someone else can see you doing these things, but to do it in private, because that's just what we were commanded to do. If others kind of see us and we get praised for doing those kind of things, that's our reward right there. But Christ kind of tells us to do it in private, and we'll get our reward in heaven. And so it's kind of very similar to that, I believe. It's just something that you kind of keep true to yourself and to your God, I guess, for these people, for their God, and their religion. And so, I was just watching this documentary. It was fairly short, but like, these, like, I think most of the people who kind of attempt, to do this trip, they are very, on the older side for sure. They look like they're in their 60s, maybe some in their 70s. And I even saw like kids doing this too. There was this one family who took their whole family, like they had 4 kids or such, they were young kids too, and they took their family and they did this trip. And me right now, just even thinking about it, it is crazy. It's very intimidating for me. I'm sure it is for them too, but it's not an easy trip. And I was watching it with Mama Kim, and she kind of said something that was interesting too. And she was kind of looking at that, and she was like, dude, my heart goes out for these people, because this is very hard stuff that they're doing, and this is very, rigorous, and things, I'm sure, it's a struggle that we can't even imagine. But they're all doing this for what, they're all doing this. They do all this, and yet at the end of the day, they still don't go to heaven. They still don't end up in heaven. And that's just why my heart goes out to them. And that's what my Mama Kim said. And it was very interesting, hearing that. And it is true. I, like I said, as a believer myself, seeing kind of the extent that these individuals go through to honor and to kind of for their own religion, and knowing in my heart that at the end of the day, even through all this, they still have not attained salvation, because they haven't met Christ or heard about the gospel and things like that. And Mama Kim also said, like, dang, how lucky are we that we have it so easy, when all these religions like these, require them to do a practice like this. But we're just here at home, just living it so easily, having it so easy, and knowing, and still knowing at the end of the day that we're the ones that's gonna go to heaven, and they're not, and I don't know, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that. I think definitely, you could definitely see it that way. um I guess subjectively we do have it easy, if you kind of look at it from the outside. We don't have to make this trip, there's nothing in Christianity that says we gotta do something like this, or like go travel 2,000 kilometers through mountains, through snow, through desert, uh through highways, in the scorching heat, in the cold, with nothing on you except maybe a small backpack, um and taking up to over 2 years to complete this. And this is a little side note too, but in the like this trip in of itself, once they reach their destination, that's not the end of it. When they reach their destination, I believe it's like a temple, they have to I think 6,000 times, or no, 60,000 times. It was some ridiculous number. They have to do the prostration in place, for this ridiculous like amount of times, again, even once they reach their destination, and that in of itself takes a couple months to complete. So like it's taken over 2-3 years, to just finish this whole thing. And it's the whole time you're hungry, you're tired, you're on the brink of just collapsing, and things like that. Yeah, on the outside, we don't have to do any of this, so we do have it easy technically. At the same time, I think the part where I do disagree upon is, maybe it's not as physically demanding, being a believer in Christ. But at the same time, I think we're not called to have it easier. We're not called to live an easier life. In fact, I think, we're kind of called to do the opposite. God says that this world is not ours. We're not children of the world, and if we are part of the world, we're not with God. And if we are with God, we're not part of the world. The world will turn against us. And it says numerous times in the Bible that we're gonna have it hard. It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be a struggle out here. Once we choose to follow Christ, once we choose to believe in God, and I still hold true to that. I still believe in that, and I'm sure. And maybe it's not a physical struggle as extreme as this, but I'm sure in some shape or form, we're not gonna have it easy in this life. It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna be exhausting, one way or another. And I think that's kind of when we know. That's how we know that we're on the right path. When life itself isn't easy, but we still kind of march through. We still just keep moving forward, no matter how exhausting and painful it is. Very similarly to these individuals right here, who keep moving forward and prostrating themselves, and that whole 2,000 kilometers. So I think that's a very common theme in many religions. I'm not an expert on many religions, so I can't really say for sure. But just from what I know, I think many religions, I think very few religions actually, call you to enjoy life, and is telling you that life should be all good and happy and sunshine. I think many religions kind of speak to there's going to be struggles, there will be pain, but you just got to fight through those things, and especially in what God our Lord tells us. Like I said, it's gonna be a rough, straight and narrow road, and yeah. Kind of got lost there in the last couple of minutes of where I was kind of going with this, but you get the idea. Yeah, it's definitely, my heart does go out for these people right here. But at the same time, just a reminder of how blessed we are truly, that even throughout the struggles and difficulties of life, in whatever form and shape they may come, at the end of the day, we have salvation and we have true eternity, forever with Christ our Lord. That we can spend praising and worshiping God all together. And so that's honestly something that to always give me hope. That's always something that keeps me moving forward no matter what. Knowing that this life isn't the end. And I'm sure that's what these individuals here in Tibet and all across the world, that's what they believe in too. But unfortunately, there is only one true God. And I really pray. My prayers go out for these individuals and individuals around the world who just haven't heard the good news yet and haven't met Christ. I truly believe that's why missionaries are needed. That's why they're called. And one day I really hope that God uses me for His great commission as well. But yeah, I interesting stuff. Like I said, I definitely want to look into this a lot more as well. I think that I was kind of reading up on it, and while I was doing my research, there's so much more that goes into this. It's not just this prostration thing. This is a very small part of like the whole bigger picture of Buddhism and all of that. And like I said, I want to research this more, get to know this more, understand. I think that's very important. I think that's something that many Christians or many religious people fail to do, is they just are so caught up and in their own, I guess, religion or what they believe, that they fail to kind of understand and kind of seek out and listen and research into what other people believe. And that doesn't mean that you have to give up what you believe. Always stay strong to what you believe. But at the same time, I think it's very valuable to have this knowledge, to have this information, to understand others. And in that way, God can use us more. God can use us even more thoroughly to be able to reach out to these people, or in whatever other way that He has planned for us. So yeah, that was a big, long ramble. But if you guys want to definitely check this out, I highly recommend it. Once again, it's this Tibetan Prostration. If you just search that up on Google, you'll get a bunch of hit search results. Crazy stuff, man. Dude, but all I could really think, or not all, but then I think the one thing that kind of came to my mind after watching this documentary is like, after these people finish this journey, dang, they must be the fittest people on earth. Holy, they must have like muscles in places that you couldn't even know that you could have, because these people, wow, they're doing burpees for 200 kilometers over for 3 years straight. How can you not be like Superman after that? So maybe that's definitely one of the the positives to this. So yeah, check it out for sure. And yeah, today's Bible passage is it's gonna be a little on the longer side, but at the same time, I think it's great stuff. So just listen closely. It's gonna be from Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1 through 13. So let me read that for you right now. Do not make idols or set up an image or a sacred stone for yourselves, and do not place a carved stone in your land to bow down before it. I am the Lord your God. Observe my Sabbaths and have reverence for my sanctuary. I am the Lord. If you follow my decrees and are careful to obey my commands, I will send you rain in its season, and the ground will yield its crops, and the trees their fruit. Your threshings will continue until grape harvest, and the grape harvest will continue until planting, and you will eat all the food you want and live in safety in your land. I will grant you peace in the land, and you will lie down, and no one will make you afraid. I will remove wild beasts from the land, and the sword will not pass through your country. You will pursue your enemies, and they will fall by the sword before you. 5 of you will chase 100, and 100 of you will chase 10,000, and your enemies will fall by the sword before you. I will look on you with favor and make you fruitful and increase your numbers, and I will keep my covenant with you. You will still be eating last year's harvest when you will have to move it out to make room for the new. I will put my dwelling place among you, and I will not abhor you. I will walk among you and be your God, and you will be my people. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt so that you would no longer be slaves to the Egyptians. I broke the bars of your yoke and enabled you to walk with heads held high. Amen. So thank you once again for joining us on another fantastic episode. Every week, I personally believe there's always something special, always something interesting to talk about. That's my favorite word, interesting. So definitely I'll catch you guys next week for another great episode, I'm sure. So until then, have a fantastic week, everybody, and as always, all glory to God.